Okay, I got a lot of stuff going on here, but I wanted to show you another example of an increasing cost, opportunity cost, or production possibilities curve. You can see it's increasing cost because the resources going into making each product are very, very different. In this case, we'll have trucks here and corn. Obviously, the resources that go into making corn and producing and growing corn are much different than the resources that go into manufacturing trucks. So because of that, and because they use such different resources, we are going to see an increasing cost production possibilities curve, an increasing cost opportunity cost, because every time we want to make a truck, we're going to have to give up increasingly more resources that could have gone into making corn. Okay, so in this one we have the maximum of 3 trucks we can make, or 100 corns. So we start off here at 100 corns, we're making 0 trucks, or 3 trucks and 0 corns. So let's say that we add a truck. So if we add 1 truck, we go up here to the line. Remember, the line again is represents the maximum amount of resources that can be used. We can't go beyond it because we don't have enough resources. Okay, so if we add 1 truck, we are now here at point B, which means we have enough resources left over. I just made these numbers up. We have enough resources to produce 80 corns. So 1 truck gave us enough resources to make 80 corns, which means we lost 20 corns, right? We went from 100 to 80. So the opportunity cost of making the first truck was 20 corns. I put it here between A and B. The resources that go into making 1 truck are the same resources that go into making 20 corns. So to gain 1 truck, we had to give up 20 corns. Or also you could say to gain 20 corns between A and B, you had to give up a truck. It goes either way. It doesn't matter. Let's say we added 1 more. We went from 1 truck, we added a second truck that we're going to produce, which means we had to give up even more resources that would have gone into producing corn or growing corn. If we go up here to our line that represents the maximum amount of resource we can produce, we have enough, we can see, to produce 50 corns. So we went from 80 down to 50, which is 30. 80 minus 50 is 30. And we can see the opportunity cost of gaining 1 truck between B and C, or to add our second truck, is 30 corns. We can see we can also write it like this. 1 truck between B and C, 1 truck's resources, the same resources that go into making 30 corns, or the resources that go into making 30 corns would give you amount to make 1 truck. It can go either way. And then lastly, if we wanted to add 1 more truck, we wanted to add our 3rd truck, we're now here, which means we have enough resources to make all 3 trucks but 0 corns. So it went from 50 all the way down to 0. So the between C and D, the opportunity cost of making that 3rd truck was 50 corns, going from 50 to 0. So between C and D, 1 truck and 50 corns use the same resources. Okay, so you can see again, we call it increasing cost because you're having to give up more and more and more. Another way to solve these questions about opportunity cost, which is to keep these ratios. So let's look at one I put up here. What is the opportunity cost of 10 corns between C and D? So I want to figure out how many trucks am I going to have to give up to gain 10 corns between C and D. We can see that our ratio between C and D is 1 truck gives us 50 corns. So if 1 truck gives us 50 corns, how many trucks would give us 10 corns? And so this x means we cross multiply and divide. 50 times x would be 50x. Make that neater for you. 1 times 10 would be 10. Okay, so you divide both sides by 50. And x equals 10 over 50, which is simplified into 1 over 5, or 0.2. So the opportunity cost of making 10 corns would be 1/5 of a truck. And you can do the same thing between B and C. It'd be 1 over 30. So we want to do the opportunity cost of 10 corns between B and C. it'd be one truck is worth 30 corns, and we want to know what would be the opportunity cost of 10 corns. This would be X. So we just cross multiply and divide. 30 times X is 30X. 1 times 10 is 10. Divide both sides, in this case, by 30. Right? This crosses out, and then X would equal 10 over 30, which crosses out into 1/3 of a truck. So you can see the answer of the opportunity cost of 10 corns will be different depending on if you're talking about between A and B, B and C and D, because it's an increasing cost curve, whereas with constant cost, it's always the same because it's a straight line because they use the same resources. Okay, so now you've got two constant cost curves and two increasing cost curve examples to look at.